The sky above Velenthor Prime had turned black. Not the peaceful black of night with its gentle stars. This was a different darkness. This was the darkness of death. Ambassador Lyris Keth stood at the tall window of the government building and looked up. Her four blue eyes watched the shapes moving across the sky. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. The Vorathax warships hung above her world like hungry animals waiting to feed. Her people called them the Devourers. The name was earned through blood and tears across dozens of worlds. The Vorathax did not conquer planets to rule them. They conquered planets to empty them. They took everything: resources, technology, and most importantly, people. Slaves for their vast empire. "Ambassador," a soft voice spoke behind her, "the shield generators are failing." Lyris did not turn around. She knew who it was. Torek, her young aide, had been by her side for 3 years. He was barely an adult by Karathi standards. He should have been in university studying mathematics or poetry. Instead, he was here, watching his world die. "How long?" she asked. Her voice was calm. She had practiced being calm for days now. Her people needed her to be strong. "The engineers say 12 hours at most. The bombardment has been constant. Our shields were never built for war." Lyris finally turned to face him. Torek was thin and tall like all Karathi. His pale blue skin had grown even paler over the past week. Dark circles surrounded his eyes. None of them had slept properly since the invasion began. "And the evacuation?" she asked. 8 million civilians are now in the underground shelters. We have moved everyone we can. But Ambassador—" He stopped. His voice broke slightly. "The shelters will not protect them. Not from the Vorathax. Once the shields fall, they will simply dig them out." Lyris knew this. She knew it very well. The shelters were not protection. They were simply a place to hide while waiting for the end. She walked to her desk and sat down heavily. The desk was covered with communication records. Hundreds of messages sent out into the galaxy over the past 3 weeks. Messages to the Galactic Council. Messages to neighboring empires. Messages to trade partners. Messages to anyone who might listen. She picked up one of the response files and read it again. She had read it many times already, but she read it once more. "The Galactic Council has reviewed the situation in the Velanthor system. After careful consideration, we have determined that military intervention is not viable at this time. The Vorathax Collective possesses significant military capabilities, and engagement would result in unacceptable losses. We extend our sympathies to the Karathi people and hope for a peaceful resolution." Peaceful resolution. Lyris almost laughed. There was no peaceful resolution with the Vorathax. There was only surrender and slavery, or death. She put down the file and picked up another. This one was from the Mendari Empire, their closest neighbors. "We regret to inform you that the Mendari Empire cannot provide assistance. Our borders with the Vorathax Collective must remain secure. Any military action on our part could provoke retaliation. We wish you well." They wished them well. How kind of them. Another message. "From the Trilaxian Trade Federation. We have evacuated all Trilaxian citizens and business assets from Velenthor Prime. Our insurance divisions are processing claims. We hope the situation resolves favorably." They had taken their money and run. That was all they cared about. Lyris threw the files across the desk. They scattered and fell to the floor. Torek flinched at the sudden movement. 300 years, Lyris said quietly. "For 300 years, we have been good members of the galactic community. We have shared our knowledge. We have helped others. We have never harmed anyone. And when we needed help—" She shook her head. "No one came." Torek bent down and began gathering the scattered files. "Perhaps someone will still come," he said softly. "Perhaps one of the messages will reach someone who cares." "Who, Torek?" "Who will come? The great empires are afraid of the Vorathax. The council is useless. The trade guilds only care about profit. We are alone." The building shook suddenly. Another bombardment struck against the planetary shields. The lights flickered. Somewhere in the distance, Lyris could hear alarms ringing. She stood up and walked back to the window. From here, she could see the capital city stretching out below. The streets were empty now. Everyone had gone to the shelters. The beautiful towers that her people had built over centuries stood silent and waiting. Soon they would be ruins. "Do you know what the Vorithax do to captured populations?" Lyris asked quietly. "I have heard stories," Torek replied. His voice was barely a whisper. "They sort us. The strong ones go to labor camps. The intelligent ones go to research facilities where they are forced to work on Vorithax technology. The young ones are taken and raised as servants. And the old, the sick, the ones they consider useless." She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Torek came to stand beside her at the window. Together, they watched the dark shapes moving in the sky. "My family is in Shelter 7, Torek said. "My mother, my sisters, my young nephew. He is only 4 years old. He does not understand what is happening. He thinks it is a game. He thinks we are playing hide and seek." Laris felt tears forming in her eyes. She blinked them away. She could not cry. Not yet. There would be time for tears later. Or perhaps there would not be any time at all. "I am sorry, Torek," she said. "I am sorry I could not protect your family. I am sorry I could not protect any of them. You tried, Ambassador. You did everything you could. It was not enough." Another explosion. Closer this time. The shields were weakening faster than expected. The Vorithax were growing impatient. Lyris made a decision. She walked to the communication console and began typing. "What are you doing?" Torek asked. "One more message, Anna," she said. "One final broadcast. I will send it on every frequency, in every direction. I will let the galaxy hear what is happening here. Let them hear us die. Let them live with that knowledge forever." She finished typing and pressed the transmit button. The message went out into the void. A cry for help from a dying world. A voice calling into the darkness. Somewhere out there, among the billions of stars and countless civilizations, someone had to be listening. Someone had to care. But as the hours passed and no response came, Lyris began to accept the truth. The galaxy had heard them. The galaxy simply did not care. There was no help coming. There was no hope left. Only darkness, falling slowly over Velenthor Prime. Deep beneath the surface of Velenthor Prime, 8 million souls waited in darkness. The underground shelters had been built long ago, designed to protect against natural disasters. Earthquakes, storms, floods. They had never been designed to protect against war. The Kirathi had never needed to think about war. In Shelter 7, a young Kirathi mother named Sela held her son close to her chest. The boy was small and confused. He did not understand why they had to stay underground. He did not understand why his mother kept crying when she thought he was asleep. "Mama," the boy whispered, "when can we go home?" Sela stroked his head gently. "Soon, little one. Soon." It was a lie. She knew it was a lie. But what else could she tell him? How could she explain that their home no longer existed? How could she tell a 4-year-old boy that monsters were coming from the sky? Around them, thousands of other families huddled together. The emergency lights cast everything in a dim red glow. The air was thick and heavy. The ventilation systems were working hard, but they were not designed for so many people. Old ones sat quietly in corners, accepting their fate with the calm dignity of those who had lived long lives. Young couples held each other, whispering words of love that might be their last. Children played simple games, not fully understanding the danger they were in, and everyone waited for the shields to fall, waited for the Vorithax to come. Far above the planet, Admiral Krell of the Vorithax Collective stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Eternal Hunger. He was a massive creature, twice the size of any Kirathi. His body was covered in thick black armor that had grown from his own flesh. His face was a nightmare of sharp edges and too many eyes. He watched the planetary shields flicker and weaken with great satisfaction. "Report," he commanded. His voice was deep and harsh, like stones grinding together. "The shields are at 23% capacity," his sensor officer responded. "At current bombardment rate, complete failure will occur within 6 hours." "Excellent. And any response from the wider galaxy?" "None, Admiral. The Galactic Council has issued a statement of non-intervention. All neighboring systems have closed their borders. No military vessels have been detected within 50 light years." Krell made a sound that might have been laughter. His mandibles clicked together rapidly. As expected, the galaxy is full of cowards. They talk about peace and cooperation, but when true power arrives, they hide in their holes like frightened animals. He turned to look at the planet below. It was a beautiful world, covered in blue oceans and green forests. The Kirathi had built wonderful cities there, great centers of learning and culture. All of it would soon belong to the collective. How many inhabitants? Krell asked. Approximately 47 million on the main continent. Another 12 million scattered across the smaller landmasses. Total population approximately 60 million. Excellent. The research divisions will be pleased. The Karathi are known for their intelligence. They will be useful in our laboratories. Another officer approached. Admiral, we have intercepted another distress signal from the planet's surface. The same message, broadcast on all frequencies. Let me hear it. The officer played the recording. A female voice spoke, filled with despair but still holding on to dignity. This is Ambassador Lyris Keth of Valenthor Prime. Our world is under attack by the Vorthax Collective. Our shields are failing. We have no military. We cannot defend ourselves. We are calling on anyone who can hear this message. Please help us. Please. Our people are innocent. Our children are innocent. Someone must care. Someone must come. Please. The message repeated. Krell listened to it twice, his many eyes narrowing with amusement. How touching, he said. She still believes someone will save them. After all this time, she still has hope. Should we jam the signal, Admiral? No, let it broadcast. Let the galaxy hear her beg. Let them hear her tears. It will remind them what happens to those who stand in the way of the collective. And it will remind them that no one will come to save them either, if they ever displease us. The officers nodded. They had seen this before. Every conquered world sent out desperate calls for help. And every time, the calls went unanswered. The galaxy had learned to fear the Vorthax. Fear kept them silent. Fear kept them still. On the planet's surface, Ambassador Lyris had stopped watching the sky. There was nothing to see except darkness and death. Instead, she sat in her office, writing letters. Letters to people she loved. Letters to her family. Letters to friends she would never see again. Torek brought her a cup of hot tea. It was a small comfort, but it was something. You should rest, Ambassador, he said gently. I will rest when this is over, she replied. One way or another? The engineers report the shields will fail within hours. The Vorthax have begun moving their transport ships into position. Transport ships, slave ships. They would land as soon as the shields fell. Thousands of Vorthax soldiers would pour out, rounding up the population, sorting them like animals at market. Lyris took a sip of her tea. Have we received any responses to our messages? A few. Mostly expressions of sympathy, no offers of help. Sympathy. The word tasted bitter in her mouth. They are sorry we are going to die, but not sorry enough to do anything about it. There was one strange message, Torek said, very brief, from a species I do not recognize. They call themselves humans? Lyris looked up with slight curiosity. Humans? I do not know that name. According to our database, they are a young species from a distant region. Very little is known about them. The Galactic Council has them classified as a developing civilization. Minor importance. What did their message say? Only 3 words. Message received, acknowledged. Lyris shook her head. Probably just an automated response. Some computer sending back confirmation. Most likely, Torek agreed. Neither of them thought more about it. Why would they? The humans were nobodies, a minor species from the far edge of known space. They had no power, no great fleet, no reason to care about a dying world so far from their own. The hours passed. The shields grew weaker. The darkness grew deeper. And in the cold emptiness of space, something was moving. Something that the Vorthax sensors had not detected. Something that the galaxy had forgotten. Something that was coming fast. The humans had a saying from their ancient history. A saying about fire and hope. A saying about light in the darkness. The Vorthax did not know this saying. They did not know humans at all. They were about to learn. The sensor officer on the Vorthax flagship was bored. He had been watching his screens for hours. The same readings, the same data, the planetary shields weakening. The Karathi population hiding underground. No threats, no surprises, just another easy conquest. Then his screen flashed. He blinked his many eyes and looked again. The reading made no sense. It had to be an error. Equipment malfunction. Something wrong with the sensors. "Admiral," he said slowly, "I am detecting something unusual." Krell was studying invasion plans on his personal screen. He did not look up. "What is it?" "A ship, Admiral. It just appeared." Now Krell looked up. "Appeared? What do you mean appeared?" "It exited faster than light travel inside our defensive perimeter. No warning, no transition signature. It is here." Krell stood up quickly. His massive form cast a shadow across the command deck. "Show me." The main view screen changed to show the sensor data. There it was, a single contact, small, no bigger than a medium cruiser, sitting right in the middle of their formation as if it belonged there. "That is impossible," Krell said. "No ship can exit hyperspace that precisely. The calculations alone would take days." "And yet, Admiral, there it is." "Identify it. What species? What configuration?" The sensor officer worked his controls. Data scrolled across his screen. His face went pale. "It is. The computer says it is human, Admiral." "Human?" Krell had to search his memory for the name. Ah, yes, the young species. The primitives from the distant arm of the galaxy. He had read about them once. Nothing impressive. "A human ship? Here? That is 3 months of travel from their territory." "I cannot explain it, Admiral." "Is it armed?" "The scan shows." "Admiral, I am having trouble reading its systems. They are using technology I do not recognize. But yes, it appears to be a military vessel." Krell felt a moment of confusion, then amusement, then anger. How dare this insignificant species interfere with collective business? He would crush this tiny ship and send its wreckage back to human space as a warning. "Open a channel to the intruder," he commanded. Before his communications officer could respond, the human ship began broadcasting. The message came through on every frequency, cutting through all encryption, filling every speaker on every Vorthax vessel. The voice was male, calm, cold, speaking in perfect standard Galactic. "This is Captain James Chen of the United Earthship Prometheus, Terran Naval Vessel Registry, DN 7749. You are engaged in hostile action against the civilian population. You are committing acts of war against the Karathi people. You have 60 seconds to power down your weapons and withdraw from this system. This is your only warning. There will not be another." Silence followed. Every Vorthax officer on the command deck stared at the view screen. Admiral Krell stared. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Krell began to laugh. It was an ugly sound, a grinding, scraping noise that filled the command deck. His mandibles clicked together rapidly. His many eyes narrowed with cruel amusement. "One ship," he said. "One tiny ship threatens the Vorthax collective. One human threatens 47 warships." He shook his massive head. "These humans are either very brave or very stupid." "Admiral, what are your orders?" "Destroy it. All vessels open fire." Across the formation, 47 Vorthax warships turned their weapons toward the small gray vessel that hung motionless in space. Plasma cannons charged. Missile bays opened. Targeting systems locked on. The first shots were fired. Hundreds of plasma bolts streaked through space. Dozens of missiles launched with trails of fire. The amount of firepower was enough to destroy a small moon. It all converged on one point. One small ship. The Prometheus moved. It did not move like other ships. It did not dodge or weave or try to run. It moved like a dancer. It moved like water flowing around stones. It moved with a grace and precision that should have been impossible for a vessel made of metal and fire. The plasma bolts missed. The missiles exploded harmlessly in empty space. The Prometheus was simply not where the weapons expected it to be. And then it fired back. The first shot came from what humans called a railgun. A simple weapon, really. Just a piece of metal accelerated to incredible speed by magnetic force. Simple, but effective. The metal slug hit the nearest Vorthax warship at 12% the speed of light. The shields never had a chance. The armor never had a chance. The slug punched through the ship from front to back and then kept going. The warship exploded in a ball of fire and debris. The second shot destroyed another ship. The third shot destroyed another. Admiral Krell watched in disbelief. This could not be happening. This was not possible. One small ship could not be doing this. "All ships, concentrate fire!" he screamed. "Destroy that thing!" The Vorthax fleet tried. They really tried. They fired everything they had. Plasma cannons, missiles, energy beams. The space around the Prometheus became a storm of destruction, but the human ship kept moving, kept dancing, kept dodging, and kept firing. Another Vorthax ship died, then another, then three more in quick succession. The human weapons punched through Vorthax armor like paper. The human ship moved through the Vorthax formation like a ghost. "What is that thing?" the sensor officer screamed. His voice had lost all professional calm. He was terrified. They all were. On the planet's surface, Ambassador Lyris watched through her window. She had seen the flash of fire in the sky. She had thought it was the final attack, the Vorthax coming to claim their prize. But the explosions were not hitting the ground. They were happening in space, in the Vorthax formation. Torek ran into her office. His face was filled with shock and something that Lyris had not seen in days. "Hope. Ambassador, a ship. Someone has come. Someone is fighting the Vorthax." Lyris grabbed his shoulders. "Who? What ship? Which empire?" "None of them. It is one ship. A single ship. It is destroying the Vorthax fleet." Lyris ran to the communication console. She had to know. She had to see. She pulled up the sensor feed. She saw the battle. She saw the small gray ship cutting through the Vorthax formation like a blade through cloth. She saw Vorthax warships burning and breaking apart, and she saw the identification signal that the ship was broadcasting. UES Prometheus, Terra, human. "Humans," she whispered. "The humans came." She did not understand. She did not know why. But for the first time in weeks, Ambassador Lyris Keth felt something she thought she had lost forever. She felt hope. Captain James Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus with his hands clasped behind his back. Around him, his crew worked with calm efficiency. No panic, no fear, just focus. "Helm, bring us around bearing 047. Weapons, target the cruiser on our port side. Point defense, watch those missiles coming in from Vector 9. "Aye, Captain." The ship moved. The guns fired. Another Vorthax cruiser went dark, its engines destroyed, its weapons silent. Chen was not a young man anymore. 43 years of life, 22 years in the Terran Navy. He had seen battles before. He had lost friends before. He knew what war meant, but he had never fought against odds like this. When the distress signal from Velenthor Prime had reached them, they had been 3 days away at maximum speed. 3 days of pushing the engines past safe limits. 3 days of preparing for a fight they might not survive. His executive officer, Commander Sarah Park, had asked him the obvious question. "Captain, Command has ordered us to stand down. They say this is not our fight. Why are we going?" Chen had thought about the question carefully before answering. "Because someone has to," he said finally. "Because if we do not go, no one will. And because I could not live with myself if I did nothing while innocent people died." The crew had voted. Every single person on the ship had voted yes. They knew they might die. They went anyway. Now they were here, in the middle of a Vorthax fleet, fighting for a species they had never met. "Captain," the sensor officer reported, "we have destroyed or disabled 14 enemy vessels. 33 remain combat effective. Damage report? Minor hull damage on decks 7 and 12. Shield generators at 62%. Ammunition reserves at 74%. Chen nodded. They were holding, so far. On the Vorthax flagship, Admiral Krell was no longer laughing. His face was twisted with rage. His claws had dug deep grooves into the arms of his command chair. "How?" he demanded. "How is this possible? It is one ship. One ship." His tactical officer tried to explain. "Admiral, their technology is..." Different. Their weapons use kinetic force rather than energy. Our shields are designed to stop energy weapons. The kinetic rounds pass through with minimal resistance. Then why did no one tell me this before? Admiral, we had no data on human military technology. No one has fought the humans before. They were classified as non-threatening, primitive. We never studied them. Primitive, Krell gestured at the view screen, where another Vorithax ship was breaking apart under human fire. Does that look primitive to you? The tactical officer had no answer. Krell tried to understand what he was seeing. The human ship fought like nothing he had ever encountered. It did not behave like other vessels. Most species fought defensively. They protected themselves first and attacked second. They played safe. The humans did not play safe. The Prometheus attacked constantly. It moved through the Vorithax formation without hesitation, without fear. It took risks that should have been suicidal. It put itself in danger again and again. And somehow, impossibly, it kept winning. Admiral, the communications officer said, the human ship is broadcasting again. Let me hear it. Captain Chen's voice filled the command deck once more. Still calm, still cold. Admiral, or whatever your title is, I have disabled 1/3 of your fleet. I am willing to continue until there is nothing left, but I would prefer not to. I am giving you another chance to withdraw. Take your ships, leave this system, never return. Do this, and you may live. Krell felt his blood boiling. No one spoke to a Vorithax admiral this way. No one threatened the collective. Human, he responded, you have made a grave error. You have attacked the Vorithax collective. Even if you escape today, we will find your world. We will burn it. We will take your people and make them slaves. You have doomed your entire species. There was a pause. Then Chen spoke again. His voice had changed slightly. There was something in it that Krell did not recognize. Something cold and hard and very, very dangerous. Admiral, let me tell you something about humans. We are a young species. We have only been in space for a few centuries. We do not have the largest fleet. We do not have the biggest empire. But we have something that you do not understand. And what is that? We do not give up. We do not surrender. We do not abandon those who need our help. And we do not forgive those who harm innocents. Chen's voice grew harder. Your collective has enslaved dozens of worlds. You have murdered millions. You have caused suffering beyond measure. And today, a human ship came to stop you. One ship means nothing. You are wrong. This ship is just the beginning. Harm these people and more ships will come. Attack our worlds and every human who can hold a weapon will fight you. We have a saying on Earth, Admiral. Better to die on your feet than live on your knees. We mean it. In Shelter 7, the refugees were listening to the broadcast. Someone had managed to connect to the surface communications. They could hear the battle. They could hear the human captain speaking. Little Sela held her son close. Tears streamed down her face. But for the first time, they were not tears of despair. Her sister whispered, "Who are these humans? Why would they risk everything for us?" "I do not know," Sela replied. "But they came. When no one else would come, they came." In her office, Ambassador Lyris listened to Captain Chen's words. She had read about humans now. Everything in the database. It was not much. A young species from a small blue planet called Earth. A history filled with war and conflict, but also with art and music and great acts of kindness. A people who had faced terrible darkness in their past and had somehow found light. She began to understand. The humans had not come because it was logical. They had not come because they would gain something. They had come because their hearts would not let them do otherwise. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Captain Chen watched another Vorithax ship fall silent. 20 disabled or destroyed now. 27 still fighting. His ship was taking damage. His shields were weakening. His ammunition was running low. But he would not stop. He could not stop. Not while there were still Karathi to save. "All hand," he announced over the ship's intercom. "This is the captain. We are outgunned. We are outnumbered. We are far from home. But somewhere below us, 8 million people are counting on us. Today we show the galaxy what humans are made of. Today we do not step back. Today we fight." And the Prometheus dove back into battle. The battle lasted 4 more hours. 4 hours of fire and chaos. 4 hours of the Prometheus dancing through death, striking like lightning, refusing to fall. In the end, Admiral Krell made a choice he had never made before, a choice no Vorithax admiral had made in 300 years. He ordered a retreat. 31 Vorithax ships limped toward the edge of the system. 16 others drifted dead in space, their hulls torn open, their crews gone. The mighty fleet that had come to conquer Valenthor Prime fled like wounded animals. Krell's flagship was barely holding together. Half its weapons were destroyed. Its engines were damaged. Fire suppression systems had failed on multiple decks. As he watched the human ship through his cracked view screen, he felt something he had never felt before: fear. "Admiral," his communications officer reported weakly, "the human ship is hailing us." "Put it through." Captain Chen's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired. There was blood on his forehead from a wound, but his eyes were clear and steady. "Admiral, I see you have decided to leave. That is a wise choice. I want you to remember this day. Remember what one human ship did to your fleet. Remember and tell your collective." Krell found his voice. "This is not over, human. The collective will return, with more ships, with more weapons. We will destroy you." Chen nodded slowly. "You can try, but I want you to think about something. Today I was alone. One ship, far from home, with no support and no backup. Imagine what will happen when we are not alone. Imagine when there are 100 ships, 1,000. Imagine when humanity decides that the Vorithax collective is a problem that needs to be solved." Krell said nothing. He had no words. "Go home, Admiral. Heal your wounded, bury your dead, and stay away from this world. Stay away from any world that asks for our help, because if you do not, we will find you. And next time, there will be no retreat." The screen went dark. Krell stood in silence as his broken fleet crawled toward the system boundary. Behind them, the human ship remained on station, watching, waiting, making sure they truly left. On Valenthor Prime, the sun rose over a world that should have been conquered. The people emerged from their shelters slowly, blinking in the morning light. They looked up at the sky and saw not darkness but blue, not death but life. Ambassador Lyra stood in the ruins of the government plaza. Most of the buildings were damaged from the bombardment, but they could be rebuilt. Buildings were just structures. What mattered was that her people were alive. Torek ran up to her. "Ambassador, the human ship is moving into high orbit. They are requesting permission to speak with you." "Granted immediately." A moment later, a holographic image appeared before her. Captain James Chen, standing on his bridge. His uniform was torn. His face was tired, but he managed a small smile. "Ambassador Lyris, I presume?" "Captain Chen." Lyris felt her voice breaking. "I do not know what to say. I do not have words for what you have done." "You do not need to say anything, Ambassador. We were just doing what needed to be done." "But why? We are strangers to you. We have never met. We have nothing to offer. Why would you come so far, risk so much for people you do not know?" Chen was quiet for a moment. He seemed to be thinking about how to answer. "Ambassador, my grandmother used to tell me stories when I was a child. Stories about Earth's history, about times when terrible things happened and good people did nothing. She told me about wars and suffering that could have been prevented if someone had just stood up, if someone had just said no." He looked directly at her through the hologram. "She told me that the only thing necessary for evil to win is for good people to do nothing. I believed her then. I believe her now. When we received your signal, when we heard your people calling for help, we could not do nothing. We would not do nothing." Lyris felt tears flowing freely down her face. She did not try to stop them. "Your people asked the galaxy for help," Chen continued. "The galaxy turned away. But we heard you. We are not a large power. We are not a great empire. We are just humans. But we do not leave people to suffer when we can help. That is not who we are. Captain, you have saved 60 million lives today. My people will never forget. The Karathi will speak of this day for 1,000 years." Chen shook his head. "We do not need to be remembered, Ambassador. We just need to know that your children are safe, that your families will see tomorrow." That is enough for us. In Shelter 7, Sella held her son as they walked out into the sunlight. The boy laughed and pointed at the sky. Mama, look! The dark things are gone! The sky is blue again. Yes, little one, the darkness is gone. What happened to it? Sella smiled through her tears. Some very brave people from very far away came and chased it away. Will they come back? The brave people? I do not know. But I think if we ever need them, they will try. The Prometheus stayed in orbit for 6 days. Its crew helped repair the planetary shields. They shared medical supplies. They assisted with rescue operations. And when ships from the Galactic Council finally arrived, embarrassed and apologetic, the humans quietly slipped away. Captain Chen received a message before they left. It was from Torek, the young aide. Captain, my nephew has been asking about you. He is 4 years old. He wants to know if humans are like the heroes in our children's stories. I told him that you are better than any story, because stories are not real. But you are. Thank you, Captain. Thank you for being real. Chen read the message 3 times. Then he put it in his personal files, where he kept the things that mattered most. The Prometheus jumped to hyperspace and disappeared into the stars. Behind them, they left a world reborn, a people saved, a darkness shattered. Years later, when the Karathi built a great monument to honor those who had helped them, they did not put the names of empires or councils on it. They put one name, one simple name, Prometheus. And beneath it, the words that Captain Chen had spoken on that day, when hope had seemed lost. We could not do nothing. We would not do nothing. That is not who we are. The galaxy had learned something that day. Something about a young species from a small blue world. Something about humans. When the darkness comes, they do not look away. They bring the light.